I used to think the challenges I had with losing weight were pretty unique until the internet, and I start listening to podcasts, and it's just so painfully obvious that we all have the same thoughts and the same issues and the same obstacles. And it wasn't until like I heard other people articulate what I was going through that it put it into perspective for me. Like, for example, one of the first weight loss podcasts I was listening to was Elizabeth Benton. She, her podcast is called Primal Potential. And I think it was at the time, like 8 years ago, she talked a lot about like a paleo diet, but she was more mindset than anything. Even though I never really followed a paleo diet, I loved her mindset, things around weight loss. And she would explain things in a way that I would be like, oh my gosh, I do that too. Oh my gosh, I do that too. Oh my gosh, yes. When I want to, hi Jackie, when I want to go for a second helping, I have the same thoughts as her. Anyway, all that to say that when I'm going through these things, I'm pretty sure you are too. And so it makes it easy to write my emails in the morning just because I have the same problems. So it looks like we have Carol and Jackie. So if you guys are here, let me know who you are. And I'm just so I, of course, want to answer your questions. I want to say I'm so impressed with you guys identifying your successes over the last week, identifying your challenges over the last week. It really helps to just put it into words I believe, to get over it, to move past things. Once we can articulate why we're stuck, then we can get out of it. So simple as that. So today I was going to talk about not eating between meals. And this, every time I think of what made the biggest difference this time to lose weight compared to 40 years of trying to lose weight, I always think this is the thing. This is the biggest game changer. This is the biggest mover. And I think that about every step along the way. So I maybe a little, I'm a hype girl. Maybe I'm overselling how important this step was, but I really believe it was one of the most important things for me to finally get control and to lose the food focus. Hi Tony, thanks for showing up. Yay. Okay. We have a good little group. Okay. So not eating between meals. I think it's so interesting that we can look back to before our country had such an obesity problem. If we look 100 years ago, they weren't grazing on food all day long like we do today, right? Like our grandparents, they ate three meals a day, and it had to be good enough. They were too busy. They didn't sit at a desk all day. They were working, they were gathering food, they were cooking all day, they were sewing, I don't know. But what I do know is they didn't have time to eat all day long like we do today. And then I remember raising kids, and it was extra hard. So I really feel for you, especially Roxanne, you're not hungry enough between meals. I'm not hungry between meals either. And most of the time I don't eat because I'm hungry. In fact, I can argue that I'm rarely hungry, but I can eat. I can eat a lot of food even when I'm not hungry. It's different if you don't think about food between meals. That's a win. So I think that is the difference. Like, so maybe what you're saying, Roxanne, is you don't think about food between meals. You're not hungry and you don't think about it. I don't get hungry between meals, but I want to eat something for so many other reasons. I want to procrastinate, or I don't want to do something hard, or I'm bored, or all the other things. So You're lucky, Roxanne, because this is a really hard one to me. Anyway, when you're raising kids, so I'm speaking especially to you, Jackie, because I know you're in the thick of it. You feel like you're around food all day long, like you're getting breakfast out and then you're cleaning it up. And by the time it's cleaned up, you're getting snacks and you're bringing snacks everywhere you go, and you're making lunch, and then you're doing more snacks, and then you're making dinner. And it felt like even though I worked a lot when I had young kids, I worked from home always, but I always felt like I was in the kitchen, and I always felt like I was eating after the meal the whole day long. And compound that with the idea that the first time I was trying to lose weight, well, not the first time, but one of the times was during the Body for Life craze. And so we were being taught that you have to eat 6 times a day or your metabolism would slow down. So I would justify grazing all day by saying, oh, I don't want my metabolism to slow down. I better have a snack, which it's been proven that is completely not necessary. You have to go days without eating to have your metabolism slow down, if you will. So I would just use that to justify eating all day. And on Body for Life, they would say eat 6 mini meals, but I can never make it a mini meal. If I just had like one serving of protein and 1 serving of carbs, it wasn't that much food. I wasn't full. And so I would just be ready 40 minutes later to eat again. So when I decided to stop eating between meals, Roxanne, you're going to make everyone jealous. I'm going to just start putting your, let's see. So Roxanne says, oh, good. Here's, okay. So this is Jackie, 3 boys in 3 years. Oldest is 3, always in the kitchen. Okay, I noticed there's dairy included in the form of cheese and cottage cheese. Is it allowed as a beverage, referring to the 1,200 calorie plan? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. That's a great question. I'm trying to see who says it. Cheyenne, welcome. Yeah, I'll get to that question. 1 second. And then Roxanne was saying, first I was going to say, Roxanne was saying, I have to make myself eat the meals, actually. I've never been there. I've never had to make myself eat a meal. I'm always ready for food all day, every day. So when I first started deciding I was going to try 3 meals a day and not eating between meals, it was very uncomfortable for me. I wander back. If you could see my setup here, this is like a little open office, and my kitchen is like right on the other side of this hallway. And so I would just wander over, have some food, come back, do a little bit of work, wander over, have some food, come right back. And it would just happen so often that by the time the actual meal would come around, then I'm not hungry for the meal, but I feel like, oh, it's noon, have to eat anyway. So then I'll have like a full lunch. And all those trips to the kitchen added up throughout the day adds up to 1,000, 2,000 more calories. And when you only need 1,500 calories in a day, it can double or triple your total calories for the day. So the first reason to not eat between meals is because all that grazing has the potential to be a lot of food that you don't need. So I'll get back to that in a second. Let me answer some of these questions. Okay, so Cheyenne. So dairy, cheese, and cottage cheese, and I'm not sure what you're asking about. Is it allowed as a beverage? Like, would you blend up cottage cheese and drink it? Or are you saying, can you substitute milk for this? If that's the question, you can. Cheese, in the 1,200 calorie plan, there's a very small amount of cheese, probably an ounce or less in a day. And so the equivalent to a drink is probably not very much. It would only be like a half a glass of milk, maybe 4 ounces. The cottage cheese, half a cup of cottage cheese has about 22 grams of protein, and even a cup of milk, I don't think you're going to get 22 grams of protein. And not to mention, eating your calories is going to be a lot more satiating than drinking. So if you, okay, yeah, so you do want to know if you can have milk. You can try it, but the calories and the macros aren't going to be equal, and it won't be as satiating. So one thing about my 1,200 calorie meal plan is there's a lot of volume and a lot of food to keep you full and to make it easier to stay on 1,200 calories. As soon as you start making those liquid calories, it's less satiating. So I wouldn't personally swap it for milk. And then, no, it's bad if I don't get enough protein. There's a happy medium to wanting to eat. That's probably Roxanne. Yeah, Roxanne. Yeah, and that's a key part of being able to be satiated between meals, is making sure there's enough protein. No question that I do have bigger appetite when I don't have enough protein. And it's not only a bigger physical appetite, but mentally, I want to keep eating if it's a high carb meal. And I think that's the biggest reason that lowering my carbs has worked for me, because I'm a big fan of carbs. But I also know that if I start my day with carbs, like have cereal or just oatmeal without protein, that I just want to keep eating. I just want to have another bowl of cereal and another piece of toast and another banana. But if I have a plate of eggs, I'm not going to make a second plate. So it has been very important for me as well to keep protein at those meals. So not eating between meals. I have, let's see. So one of the reasons you eat fewer calories, another reason to stop eating between meals is to minimize decision fatigue, is what I call it. Every time you have a food thought and you go indulge it, as we've talked about before, the more times you indulge it, the stronger that muscle gets. And the more times you practice discipline, the stronger that muscle gets. But if you have clear boundaries and clear lines between, I'm not going to eat after I put away breakfast, I'm not going to eat again till noon. If you have a clear boundary there, and it's not like making exceptions all over your kitchen, like, well, except the lifesavers, well, except a protein shake, well, except. You don't have to even entertain those ideas, because you're not going to eat anything between the meals, and it lowers your decision fatigue. Just like they say, if you wear the same outfit every day, like, like the decision fatigue is avoided. So that's another reason. Another reason that I love to have no eating between meals is your actual meal not only tastes so much better, but is so much more satisfying. So imagine not eating between, say if you didn't eat between noon and dinner, and how much more you love dinner, even if it's all healthy food, even if it's like cooked broccoli and chicken. It's going to be so much more satisfying than if you weren't hungry for dinner and you're like, I'm not really in the mood for that. I'd rather have a burger. When you're hungry for the meal, the healthiest food is gonna be extra satisfying. I have an example of this. My husband, we were talking about like recommending restaurants to people, and he said he had gone on a overnight hiking thing with the Scouts when he was young, and when they came back to civilization, they ate at a burger joint, and it was the best burger he's ever eaten. And it was mostly because he was so hungry and they had worked so hard. But he says, and for a long time I would tell people, oh, the best burger is up here in the Uintas. And he's like, and then I've thought about it. I'm like, maybe it wasn't the best. Maybe I was just really that hungry. But when you are, everything tastes so much better, right? So anyway, another reason to not eat between meals. Another reason, and this I think is really important, especially right now when there's a lot of trending buzz around insulin and glucose. One thing about not eating between meals is your sensitivity to insulin returns, leading to easier weight loss. So let me read you what I wrote. Insulin is a hormone that controls your cell's use of energy. One way to become resistant to insulin is the constant stream of glucose from eating. But if you limit your eating window, then it allows the glucose time to be used between meals and helps insulin do its job. And in doing that is when you lose weight. If you always have a constant stream of glucose in your bloodstream, there's no reason for your body to convert your fat into energy, because it has energy streaming through your blood 24/7. Does that make sense? So in order to return that insulin sensitivity, you have to go a few hours without eating. In fact, giving your digestion a break, being a few hours without eating, this is why people like intermittent fasting too, is your digestion needs a break once in a while. You don't want to constantly be in digestion mode 24/7. Can I explain how I calorie cycle? Yes. The second bikini coach I had did it this way, and I kind of still do it. But most of my meal plans, or most of my diet right now, is 1,500 calories with 150 carbs and 150 protein, and then low fat, 30 grams fat. My bikini coach back 3 years ago, he had me every 4 days to increase the carbs to 225. And the point of that, and not to decrease the other two macros, but it would actually be a 1,700 calorie day. So it would be more calories as well. But the idea in doing that is just to help build muscle. Well, I still do that. And the way I do it is on the Friday or Saturday, if I'm going to run a long run, I always increase my carbs for those days. So I'll keep carbs at 150 all week. And then on the weekend, I'll jump up to 200, 225 carbs, depending on how long the run is. And then Monday, I come back to my regular carbs. Another way you can do it that I did the peak week of a bikini show was I didn't want to increase my calories that week because I was just too worried about gaining weight. So I didn't want to increase my calories, but I did want to increase my carbs to have more of them get stored in my muscles to make my muscles look bigger. So that week I cut proteins back by 100. So I was low on the proteins. I was at 50 grams of protein. And then I increased the carbs by 100, giving me 250 carbs, but my calories stayed the same. So it was just giving me different fuel for different purposes. So that's two different ways you can. Oh, and you say calorie cycle. I read carb cycle, but you could probably say the same thing. Calorie cycling is also great, and it's a good tool to use during weight loss, especially if you know you're going to have a few higher calorie days. One thing that you can do is just the way I track the weight on the scale every day, but then I get an average through the week. I also sometimes track my calories and macronutrients on a weekly basis and then average it out per day. And I just do that in an Excel spreadsheet where I'll do 1,500 calories, 150 protein, 1,500, 150 protein. And then like Friday, it'll be like 2,500 calories, 200 protein. And I'll have like 2 days that are higher, but at the final like calculation where it adds up all 7 days and divides by 7, if your average is a calorie deficit, then you can still lose weight by having some high calorie days and low calorie days, which I like, because if you want to be social, that's a really easy way to stay on your plan and have a social life. It works both ways though, and the trouble is when you average out, everyone, how do I want to say this? I get a lot of people who say, I'm on a low calorie diet and I can't lose weight. And when you really, really, truly, honestly track, and you have 5 days where you're in a deficit, but 2 days you're over by a couple thousand, and then you average the 7 days and you're not in a deficit, it'll feel unfair, because you'll think, that's not fair. I've been in a deficit all week. I just had like one cheat meal on the weekend, or 2 untracked days, and I can't lose weight. But it makes sense if you average out the whole week and get your daily average, and whether you're in a deficit or not. So you can calorie cycle both ways. You can calorie cycle to stay in a calorie deficit, to have some higher days. You can calorie cycle to stay at maintenance. And another reason I like it is because 5 days of the week I'm home all day anyway, and I like eating socially. So it's easier to stay on my plan when I am at home, and then on the weekend, if we go out, or on Sunday when I'm making food for my family, I can eat a little bit more. So yes, I like calorie cycling. I've lied to myself for years for doing that. Jackie. Yeah. We all have, like, it's really easy to think one cheat meal shouldn't mean 6 days of being on a diet didn't count. It's not fair, especially when you don't get very many calories to begin with. So yeah, one day untracked really can put you not in a calorie deficit anymore. So that's just reality. We just have to face it, right? Every time I feel sad about it, I just always think of my grandma who died only 1 month before she turned 100. And that woman ate like a bird. She was like 4'5" by the time she died. And I'm like, well, my grandma lived till 100 eating like a yogurt and like the tiniest portions, because she's a tiny person. So if she had to do it, I guess I'll have to do it. I'm kidding. I don't eat like a bird like her. They just didn't have as many like low calorie, 0 calorie foods to work with like we do today. So it's kind of a lot easier for us. Okay. Insulin. I wanted to mention that. Another thing, another reason not snacking or not eating between meals is because by nature, snack foods are just notorious for being unhealthy. And they're notorious for eating mindlessly, like if you take handfuls of food out of a package. So you can find healthy snacks, but unless you're sitting down at a table for a balanced meal, it's generally going to be less healthy choices. Eating meals that you sit down for versus grazing is easier to track. And I know for a fact that many of you do this, because I do it too. But if you're really good at tracking, but you're grazing at the same time, it's really easy to not include something on your MyFitnessPal record or Lose It record that you ate, because it's easy to forget that you ate it, and it's easy to not know how much you ate. And if you try to recall, like food recall, they've shown through studies is notoriously we're terrible at it. So sitting down to a meal is just better for tracking. So would gum be considered snacking since there's sugar, alcohol? You can make that call on your own. I do not consider gum snacking. In fact, I constantly have a pack right at my fingertips because it's the first thing I reach for when I have a food thought. And sometimes it's 15 sticks in a day. Just kidding. I have a lot of food thoughts, but I don't consider gum breaking or having food at all. I use that. I call them crutches, and I feel like a crutch is okay. Like I tried to lose 10 pounds earlier this year for that last bikini show, and I tried to do it with 0 food crutches like gum and diet drinks, and I just couldn't. Like I'm not strong enough yet. Do you know of a protein powder that doesn't bloat or hurt the GI system? I feel like I see all the time people are saying, "Oh, this is the best protein powder. It doesn't hurt my GI." But then they say it about so many different ones that you kind of get skeptical after a while. I've never had any gastro distress. If anyone in the group has ideas for this, I'd love to hear it. People do, so there are protein powders that they put probiotics in it and enzymes, and that does seem to help. I think Clean Simple Eats is one of them. And if you haven't tried that yet, it's worth a try. They sell single serve packets, and so that's a good way to try it at least, so you don't have to buy 2 pounds of it at once. I really, really like the casein whey blend that's called Ultimate Muscle Protein, UMP. I think it is like the tastiest. I think that they say it doesn't hurt your stomach or cause bloat. So it's unfortunately going to be have to test and trial. But if you haven't tried Clean Simple Eats, I would start there because they do claim that it doesn't make your stomach upset. And okay, and then the last thing I'll say, protein-based organic protein. Is that Jackie, are you saying a brand? Is that a brand that doesn't? Oh, plant-based. You're saying a vegan protein, it doesn't hurt your stomach. Yeah, and Clean Simple Eats does have a vegan powder, so maybe try that. Oh, you have is it called Orgain, Orgain? Or is it organic? Is that the brand? Share more, Jackie. Oh, Carol, thank you for asking that. Okay. Carol is saying, your meal plans have 4 meals, so is that not considered a snack? Okay, great question. When I did first start losing weight, I did stick to 3 meals. And then I added the 4th meal, which was like a protein powder or protein bar or a snack or something. And I don't consider that grazing. So I have 4 distinct meals without eating in between. And so that schedule works for me. You can, if you're trying to just stick to 3 meals, you can move that protein treat to after lunch or after dinner, if it makes it easier to not eat between meals. But yes, I did move to 4 meals a day just when I started training, and I wanted a few doses of protein throughout the day because I just wanted to get like that every couple of hours, that hit of protein for building muscle. So yes. Then, the last thing I was going to say about why it's great not to eat between meals. When I stopped eating between meals, I was able to focus on other things, and it was honestly very liberating. I didn't realize how many food thoughts I had in a day because I kept giving into them. But as soon as I have like 9 to noon where I trying not to think about food at all, I got so much work done. I got like so much cleaning done. Like I didn't realize how much time and effort was given towards my next thing I wanted to eat. It was kind of dominating my life. And I really, like, I don't mean to be dramatic, but I really feel like having those boundaries gave me my life back. It just gave me time back. So that's, I think, a really important reason to do it. Okay, but how do you stop eating between meals? So I'll just, unless you have questions, I'll just spend the last 15, 20 minutes talking about how to stop eating between meals, because let's all agree that deciding is not enough. Like I can decide I don't want to eat between meals, but then at 9:30 you're going to be like, I think I need a snack. So these are going to be really cheesy probably, and like, I don't know, maybe think that's cheating, but I'm just going to be honest here and say what's been working, because maybe you need to know. And tell me what ideas you have for not grazing all day long. Okay, so the first one was gum, because yeah, sometimes, like, I think a lot of us who are used to like mindlessly eating just need something to take your mind, like to forget about the process or the act of eating. So I think gum does that for me. So yeah, I always have some gum. The other thing is I drink a lot. So, and it doesn't always have to be water, even though I do drink a ton of water too. I think drinking gives me the same satisfaction as eating. Well, and that goes, actually, that's against what, if it's no calorie. Okay, it doesn't give me the same satisfaction, because I said earlier, if you're going to drink your calories, then it won't be as satisfying. But I'm not talking about calories here, and I'm not talking about being satiated. I'm just talking about staying busy with your mouth. So drinking, I have some of the things I drink. I have a Soda Stream, which I like, and the carbonation really does keep me full, in a sense that like your stomach feels like something's in there. So I really like carbonation. And so I did transition to some like lightly flavored carbonated water for a while, and then I just got the Soda Stream, and I like that a lot. And I have a whole bunch of those skinny syrups, so I can make any flavors I want. I love Crystal Light. Lately, so in this right here is water, some 0-calorie sugar packets, and lemon juice. And then some ice, and it's really cold. I really like the taste of that. So that keeps me busy while I'm working, chewing gum, whatever. Thank you. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want to hear your ideas for. Brushing your teeth. It sounds cheesy and it sounds like gimmicky, but it really does work. So I love this idea. Jackie, thank you for sharing that. So drinking. Okay, keeping myself distracted. So even though we all have work to do, even though our lives are probably crazy, I sometimes I allow myself to take okay, it is Orgain. I was thinking that's what it was. So back to the protein powder, the Orgain organic protein powder. Jackie Kemp believes that it does not give you gastro distress. So if you want to try that, that's a great idea. So yes, Roxanne brushes her teeth after supper and then no night snacking. Yeah, it can really be that simple. Don't overthink it. Get in there, brush your teeth, and then get on with living your life at the end of the day. So let me set the stage for you on my distractions that keep me from eating between meals. So say it's the middle of the day, 4 o'clock. I'm planning on eating at 5. And I'm just like, I'm like so tired of working. I just want to go get something to eat. Well, that's when I allow myself an indulgence that I wouldn't normally allow myself, such as watching a trashy YouTube video, like crime or gossip or whatever, or doing a puzzle or reading a couple pages in a book or reading a magazine, something enjoyable enough for me. I've always laughed at the recommendations people have. They're like, if you're hungry and you don't want, if you're trying not to eat, go for a walk. And I'm always like, that sounds hard. I don't want to go for a walk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I do want to watch somebody's review of Sister Wives on YouTube, which I do. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Cheyenne says a cup of hot tea is nice in the evening. Yes. In fact, I have a few drinks that I like for evenings as well, or even mornings. And one of them is, well, this one's for morning. Well, yeah, morning. Have you tried the Perk Energy hot drinks? There's like a peppermint white chocolate. There's pumpkin. And anyway, it's just like a hot drink, like cocoa, but it has a little caffeine in it. So delicious, but I love this idea. So anyway, back to distractions. If it's possible and you're just trying to squash the urge in the moment, do something you really like doing. Yesterday, it was I painted my nails. So I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to eat yet, but I can paint my nails and then I'll be distracted long enough for that urge to pass. So that is one thing. Let's see, what else do I do? Oh, this is a big one. Getting enough sleep. Sometimes we eat off of our meal times because we are trying to have more energy. Like it's a natural thought because normally it's true that if you have food, that'll equal more energy. But we have enough energy through food. If you're eating 4 meals a day, 3 meals a day, then more food is actually not going to give you more energy. It actually, as soon as I tip over to overeating, I'm more sluggish and tired. But the one thing that will stop those urges is getting enough sleep and good quality sleep, because then you don't have that afternoon crash that requires you to like avoid having another thing to eat. So getting enough sleep is important. Another thing is clean the kitchen. So if you clean the kitchen, if I clean the kitchen before the meal starts, I'm set up much better for success. Or, well, for example, if I try to clean up after the meal, then I'm still eating as I'm cleaning up, and like that meal just goes on and on and on and on, even though I'm technically should be done eating. So cleaning up the kitchen before the meal starts helps me to have an end to that meal, and then just putting your plates in the dishes or your dishes in the dishwasher and then walking away. Don't work it, like cleaning up your environment. Don't work in the kitchen. So I have a laptop. I'm sure most of you do. And if you work from home, do you ever just like bring it into the kitchen and work on the kitchen table or at the kitchen counter? That gives me a lot of food thoughts because I'm right there and it's so easy to like within arm's reach to get some food. So I try to stay out of the kitchen as much as possible when I'm working. Let's see. yeah, it's just easier to keep returning to the pantry for another bite. Another thing I do is journaling after a meal. So this helps me to not eat between meals, because if I write down, like if you're tracking, if you have what am I trying to say? If you have a routine where you're tracking your food that you just ate, and then maybe journaling a few thoughts about the meal and how satisfied you were with the meal, then you can put that journal away and move on. So that kind of helps. And I call it bookends, because if you really think about mealtime as a start and a finish, and then bookend that, you're done. So I'm like, any habits that you can put into place that will signify the end of your meal is a good idea. So whether it's having a drink at the end of your meal, brushing your teeth at the end of the meal, putting a piece of gum in at the end of the meal, putting your dishes in the dishwasher at the end of your meal, those kind of things are helpful. When I'm trying to work at the kitchen table, I make sure I sit in a different chair than when I eat. That's way it's not associated the same. I love that idea. Thanks, Cheyenne. Yes, having a different environment really makes all the difference. And that leads me to one more thought, because my work, and obviously my work is Health Beet. I'm exposed to a lot of recipes and food pictures all day. Like I'm on Pinterest or I'm scrolling Instagram. And if you're doing that at 2:00 in the afternoon, I can guarantee that you will have a lot of thoughts about food and want to go eat something. It's amazing. Like they've even done studies on commercials where they'll show you like a hamburger commercial or whatever. And then suddenly all you are craving is hamburgers. Like that suggestion is very powerful. So another part of cleaning up your environment is maybe you're not going to scroll Instagram and look for recipes between lunch and dinner. Maybe you have to stop that. I think those are my, I guess one more thing is, I'm just scrolling all the things. I wrote, watch Dateline, watch Law and Order. I don't know. What was I going to say? No, I already forgot. But anyway, I guess the last thing I would say is, I know what I was going to say. I know a lot of you, and especially I know my sister who never showed up, I think, has to have something sweet at the end of the meal. And I feel like, there's two solutions you can have for this. One is to decide that's okay. I will have something sweet at the end of the meal. I'm going to keep like a square of chocolate or some berries or something that's not a lot of calories, but can be a small treat after a meal. You could do that, something that's like very low in calories. One thing I've been eating, and I hate telling people because it's so weird, but it's so good to me, is having cucumbers with 0 calorie sugar and cinnamon on it. Like that feels like dessert. And I've been having it after lunch, like every day. And that just satisfies my desire to have something sweet. But you could also decide to just reprogram your habits and not need something sweet at the end of the meal. So we had, when my kids were growing up, we had Japanese exchange students every summer, and we had one say, we have dessert after every dinner. Like we always have dessert. I'm like, oh, that's great. Do you want me to get some ice cream or whatever? And they're like, no, like fruit. Like they just wanted fruit that was considered their dessert after dinner. So, either deciding not to do it and practicing that long enough till it doesn't feel like a habit, or just choosing some fruit or something that's low in calories is a good idea to have that habit to make a bookend to the meal. You're not going to eat anything after that, or not do it at all. So I think that is all I'll share about that today. I have let's see, eat it later, clean up your environment, putting obstacles between you and the temptation, know which distractions are enjoyable for you. Oh, this is interesting. I wrote, okay, 2 more thoughts of, sometimes I write things and then I forget. These are from old blog posts, but it says, recently a thought that has been working wonders for me is to shrink the future reward to tomorrow. How do I want to feel tomorrow if I overeat today? How do I feel when I get dressed tomorrow? Getting dressed, I mean, y'all know if you're struggling with weight, getting dressed is the worst. Like, you don't want to put your jeans on when you're not feeling it or they're too small. So how do you want to feel tomorrow? And then the last thing is, I say on this post, be a grown-up. Eating food on the way home from the grocery store because you can't wait till you get home is the ultimate in not being an adult about this. I'd give crackers and snacks to my 2-year-old on the way home from the store, but as an adult, you can seriously wait 10 minutes. Talking to myself, of course. Also snacking while cooking. Ever cooked something for 2 minutes in the microwave but grabbed a snack from the pantry while you waited? Seriously, do I have no shame? Can I not wait 2 minutes? So that's my self-talk, apparently. Anyway, if you have no more questions, I'll wrap this up. You guys are doing awesome. I'm excited to get all your check-ins. It is not required. The only check-ins that are required are that first one. I can't decide if I'll make a mid challenge check-in required or not, but definitely the final check-in obviously is required if you want to be in the running for the $500 first place prize. But tomorrow I'm going to give away $100. So good luck to all of you on that, and have a great day. And it's 3:00 here, so I'm going to have my 3rd meal, which is my protein treat, and then not eat again until dinner. And then we're good. No snacking between meals. I love it. I challenge you to all do it. And if you think of anything else you do to not snack between meals, add it to the comments so other people who watch this live stream later can see it. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Roxanne. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Cheyenne. Thanks, Jackie and Jackie. Thank you guys for coming. You guys have been so fun to be in this challenge with. I love it. Okay, see you next time.